A cockatoo screaming when you leave the room can feel like chaos. You stand up, walk toward the door, and suddenly the quiet house erupts with a piercing call that could wake the entire neighborhood. It's loud, it's relentless. And if you're a new parrot owner, it can feel personal, almost like the bird is angry with you. Many people assume the explanation is simple. The bird is spoiled. It just wants attention. Cockatoos are dramatic. But what if the real reason is far more fascinating and far more serious than most people realize? Because that scream isn't random noise. It's not bad manners. And it's not just a pet begging for attention. It's communication. In fact, when a cockatoo screams as you leave the room, it may be performing a behavior that evolved over millions of years, long before humans ever brought parrots into living rooms. To understand why that scream happens, we have to travel far away from suburban houses and apartment buildings, to the forests and savannas where cockatoos first evolved. Because the moment you leave the room might trigger an ancient instinct your bird's brain still thinks is a matter of survival. And the truth behind that instinct explains not only the screaming, but also why cockatoos are among the most misunderstood pets in the world. Cockatoos are native primarily to Australia, Indonesia, and nearby regions. In the wild, they don't live quiet, solitary lives. They live in flocks, large ones. Depending on the species, a single flock can include dozens, or even hundreds, of birds. These flocks travel together across huge distances, searching for food, water, and safe places to rest. Within those groups, cockatoos form extremely strong social bonds. Pairs often stay together for life. Family members recognize each other's voices, and individuals constantly communicate to maintain contact with the group. In a dense forest canopy, visibility is limited. Birds can't always see one another, so they rely on sound, loud sound. Those powerful calls that make cockatoos famous, or infamous, aren't accidents of nature. They're designed to travel long distances through thick vegetation. A single call can carry hundreds of meters through the trees. It's how birds check in with the flock. Where are you? I'm here. Stay close. These calls are sometimes called contact calls, and they're a core part of cockatoo survival. If a bird loses track of the flock, it becomes vulnerable. Alone in the wild, a cockatoo is easier prey for predators and less effective at finding food. So when separation happens, birds call and call and call until the flock responds. Now here's where the story starts to shift from the wild to your living room. When humans bring a cockatoo into a home, something remarkable and complicated happens. The bird doesn't see itself as a pet. It sees itself as part of a flock. And very often, that flock becomes you. Parrots are not domesticated in the way dogs or cats are. Dogs have lived alongside humans for tens of thousands of years. Through selective breeding, their behaviors gradually adapted to human lifestyles. Parrots didn't go through that process. Most species kept as pets today are only a few generations removed from the wild, sometimes even less, which means their brains are still wired for the environment they evolved in. A cockatoo in your home still carries the same instincts as its wild relatives. It still expects social interaction throughout the day. It still relies on vocal communication to maintain connection. And it still reacts strongly to separation. So when you leave the room, your cockatoo may not interpret that moment the way you do. To you, it's normal. You're grabbing a glass of water, checking the mail, walking into another room. But to the bird, something very different may be happening. Its flock just disappeared, and instinct says, call them back. That scream echoing through your house might be the modern version of a contact call meant to travel across an Australian forest. But instinct alone doesn't fully explain the intensity of the behavior. To understand why cockatoos scream so persistently and sometimes so emotionally, we need to look at something else parrots are famous for: their intelligence. Parrots are among the most intelligent birds on the planet. Research over the past few decades has revealed cognitive abilities that rival those of primates in certain tasks. Studies with parrots have demonstrated problem solving, tool use, object permanence, and even basic numerical understanding. One famous African grey parrot named Alex, studied by cognitive scientist Irene Pepperberg, was able to identify colors, shapes, and quantities, and appeared to understand simple concepts like same and different. Cockatoos have shown similar intelligence in experimental settings. In 2012, researchers observed Goffin's cockatoos creating tools from sticks and cardboard to retrieve food in laboratory puzzles, despite the species not being known for tool use in the wild. These birds aren't just reacting automatically. They are thinking, they are learning, and perhaps most importantly, they are forming emotional relationships. Parrots have complex social lives. In the wild, individuals may spend decades interacting with the same flock members. Many cockatoos can live 40 to 60 years, some even longer. That lifespan allows them to develop deep social bonds, long memories, and emotional attachments. In captivity, humans often become the center of those attachments, which means your cockatoo may see you not just as a companion, but as its primary social partner. Now, imagine what happens when that partner suddenly disappears. At first, the bird may simply call out, just like it would in the wild, but something else begins to happen over time: learning. If every time your cockatoo screams, you come back into the room, even if only to say be quiet, the bird receives powerful feedback. The call worked. The flock returned. From the bird's perspective, the behavior solved the problem. And intelligent animals repeat behaviors that work, so the screaming becomes reinforced. This is where many owners unknowingly contribute to the cycle. A new cockatoo owner hears the first scream and rushes back to check on the bird. Then it happens again the next day, and the next. Each time the human returns. The bird learns that loud calls control the flock's movements, and the volume escalates. What began as a natural contact call slowly transforms into a learned strategy for maintaining attention. But there's another layer many people miss entirely, because for some cockatoos, the screaming isn't just communication. It's anxiety. Separation anxiety in parrots is increasingly recognized by veterinarians and behavior specialists. In the wild, cockatoos rarely spend long periods alone. They forage, fly, and rest within hearing distance of other birds. Captivity can change that dramatically. A pet cockatoo might spend hours alone in a cage while its human family is at work, or in another room, or asleep. For a species built for constant social interaction, that isolation can be stressful. And screaming becomes a coping mechanism. In extreme cases, separation anxiety in parrots can lead to serious behavioral issues: feather plucking, self-mutilation, chronic stress. These problems are not signs of a bad bird. They are signals that the bird's psychological needs are not being fully met. And this is where the hidden truth about cockatoo ownership starts to surface. These birds are not low-maintenance pets. In fact, many experienced avian experts describe cockatoos as some of the most demanding companion animals a person can keep. They require hours of daily interaction, mental stimulation through toys and problem-solving activities, environmental enrichment, opportunities to move, explore, and express natural behaviors. Without those outlets, the bird's intelligence and emotional depth can turn inward, often in ways that owners struggle to manage. This is one reason cockatoos appear frequently in parrot rescue organizations. Many people adopt them expecting a colorful, entertaining companion. Instead, they discover a highly social, highly vocal animal that may live longer than some human relationships. When those expectations collide with reality, birds are sometimes surrendered. Understanding the reasons behind behaviors like screaming can help prevent those outcomes. Because once we see the behavior through the bird's perspective, the solutions start to make more sense. Training techniques used by parrot behaviorists often focus on teaching alternative communication. Instead of screaming, birds can learn quieter contact calls. Owners can reinforce calm behavior before leaving a room. Gradual desensitization can help reduce anxiety around brief separations. Providing enrichment, like puzzle toys, foraging opportunities, and climbing spaces, can keep the bird mentally engaged, even when humans aren't present. Most importantly, owners can build predictable routines that help the bird feel secure. Cockatoos thrive on consistency. When they understand that their flock always comes back, the urgency behind the scream often decreases. But even with excellent care, some level of vocalization will always be part of living with a cockatoo, because calling is part of who they are. And expecting silence from a cockatoo is a little like expecting a dog never to bark. By now, the mystery behind that ear-splitting scream starts to look very different. It's not defiance. It's not misbehavior. It's the echo of an ancient communication system, combined with one of the most intelligent and emotionally complex minds in the bird world. So what should every current or future cockatoo owner remember? First, screaming is natural communication, not a personality flaw. Understanding its evolutionary roots helps you respond with patience instead of frustration. Second, cockatoos need social interaction and mental stimulation far beyond what many people expect. Without it, behaviors like screaming can intensify. Third, these birds are lifelong companions with deep emotional capacity. Owning one is closer to sharing your life with a highly social toddler than a decorative pet. And that realization changes everything about how we care for them. The next time your cockatoo screams as you leave the room, listen closely. It isn't just noise, it's a question. Where did my flock go? When we understand that question, we can finally start giving these remarkable birds the answer they've been calling for all along. If you enjoyed learning about the hidden psychology behind cockatoo behavior, consider exploring more about parrot intelligence and care. The more we understand these birds, the better companions and guardians we become for them.